Hey, it's Subby.
We have a tornado possible tag on both of these cells.
These things are spinning up tornadoes very, very, very quickly. They'll have a tornado warning out.
That's going to be for this circulation right along 13 Highway. It is moving to the northeast.
Here's thunderstorm warnings.
Tree down, power outage.
Let's go ahead and take your tornado precautions. Welcome to Subby's Weather Talk.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode number 7 of Subby's Weather Talk podcast. And we are finally getting some much-needed moisture here in West Central Missouri. I am sure farmers are grinning eye to eye as we are getting close to that critical time of year here next to harvest, in which really need a good drink of water right now. And really, August has been a typical historical dry month for West Central Missouri. So it is very, very nice to see that Mother Nature providing some of that liquid gold, as farmers called it, out in their fields. Well, again today, because we are in the middle of summer, this is another story that I ran across from Steve from Minnesota. Now, it does have some winter background to it, but that might make this hopefully feel a degree or two colder after we listen to this story. But I found this very, very comical, something that I can see happen to my own family. So I'm sure many of you will be able to relate to this story. So Steve wrote, "During a fierce, heavy snowfall, I called my girlfriend's mom to get her bread recipe. I had been planning to teach myself to make bread, and with everything shut down to the intense snowfall, today was that day. So I followed her recipe to a T and set the dough on the warm oven to let it rise. Well, then I went outside for a few hours to shovel out the car, walk to the store for supplies, and play around in the snow for a bit. When I came back in, the dough had gained a soul and was growing out of its own accord like something out of a horror movie. It had overwhelmed the top of the stove, and it was running down the front and sides of the oven. The mixing bowl could not be found anywhere, as it was buried somewhere in the growing pile of goo. Horrified, I called my future mother-in-law. What the holy heck is happening here? Should I call the hazmat unit? Well, it turns out my dear future mother-in-law always had a house filled with her own kids and several foster children as well, and too poor to afford any bread for so many people. She would bake 12 or 15 loaves at a time. She never once considered that I lived alone." From Steve from Minnesota. What a great story. I can just imagine that happening, and that sounds so much like what would happen to me, as my mother tends to cook for parties of 10 or 12 for 3 of us. So I can definitely attest to that. So I want to leave you guys with a quote from Ken Hubbard, who once said, "Don't knock the weather. If it didn't change once in a while, 9/10 of the people couldn't even start a conversation." How true is that statement? Well, until next time, stay weather savvy, my friends.